If we look at the whole skeleton, okay, of the horse, we as humans walk upright. Horses walk on four legs, not on two legs, right? So the weight of the entire rib cage hangs by what we call the dorsal nuclear ligament system. And here's a picture I'd like to show you. Okay, here you see it starts at the pole and then it's supported here. And that nuclear ligament system goes all the way to the SI. And then, of course, it continues further down all the way to the hocks. So when the horse in the wild grazes and puts the neck down, then that cable makes the whole rib cage, the organs, the meat hang from the horse. Now let's talk about saddle. If I put a weight on it, on that horse's back, additional to that cable, I'm just going through my books here to find a good picture to simulate that. Okay, the horse can carry weight very easily as long as they make use of that cable. So how can they make use of the cable? We already talked about it. Head down, back comes up. But when I ride head down, I can't jump or I can't ride through the forest with the head all the way down. They need sometimes the head up, especially if I really want to go forward. Yes, we know, especially in the Western world, they have the looks like walk trot or the lope, or there's certain gaits. But in general, the horse's head is up, right? So how do we get that cable to engage? I got another little friend here, this little horse. So this theory was done by Xenophon, and Xenophon was an old Greek militarist who taught his soldier the number one thing to get the cable system to work is to get the back up of the horse. So if I'm pushing on the pelly, watch this here, see how the back comes up? So the back has to come up. When that back comes up, then this hind leg can come under. So now the cable system, okay, carries, remember I said it connects to the hocks, carries now the back to come up, and then the weight is off the forehead. So many people are under the assumption, oh, the horse is still young and, can't carry. If the horse needs muscle to carry you, there's a problem. If you use the cable system, then there's no problem. So here you have that big back muscle. That will be nice and supple if the big cable here, put it in red, see it's all in the hock, and see how it's underneath? And now the weight is off the forehand, like you see on this horse. But if I ride my horse specific with a false elevation or something pushes this down, there's no cable system, right? This doesn't come under, this doesn't come under. Now what's happening is that cable starts to go owie, kaput, breaks down. And then we see, these pictures I show you here are very well known. You're seeing it all the time. You see it when the horse is very underdeveloped, muscular, or very starved. Okay? Then they talk about this bump in the back, the hunter bump. So in order to visualize what I'm talking about, you have this skeleton, what carries you with your saddle. For 200 to 500 years, we know how to train a horse. But if you have an equipment, what bites and pinches on areas, such as all the way here, all these points, or in this triangle here, then the horse does this way, hollows the back, right? So it can't use the cable. So the cable now is under stress. It's like overextended, like an elastic band. You pull and pull. You see the overuse of the lower back muscle, and now the back gets tight, the steps get smaller, and the cables are under a lot of stress. Furthermore, the entire front, this entire rib cage, hangs with muscles from the bone here, we call the shoulder blade, the upper arm, with muscles. So equine body workers call this the shoulder sling, or the soft joint, like a soft joint, like a wet tree branch, has a lot of mobility. The dry branch from a tree, you can't bend it, right? It cracks right away. So they call it the hard joint. The hard joint is here, the SI joint, where that long rubber band goes all the way across. Let me show you a picture. Okay, let me show you a picture. What veterinary medicine know for a long, long time, but they're going to say, well, why is that so often visible in the hunter jumper world? Why do we call it hunter bump? That's the question, right? What's a hunter bump? But we also see it now more and more in the dressage, which was barely any time to see. Why no in dressage? Well, that's a whole new story. So here we go. Here is this entire spine, hangs from the soft joint, and here's the back part. You're looking at the tail end, and you see how the spine hangs with these ligaments. And you can see how quick that joint, this rough joint, I call it a dry branch, can be under attack, and then the spine hangs crooked. And then the first stage is inflammation. You don't see anything. Looks pretty round, doesn't it? But you don't need a thermography camera. You can use your own hand. Leave it on the withers, leave it in the middle of the back, leave it behind the saddle, and then go on that high spot on the croup where the SI joint is, right here. You know, when you put your hand on there. So you put it first there, you put it under the saddle, then you put it behind, and then you go here, right there. Right? And you say, wow, is that ever hot there? Okay. So that's stage one. If I ignore that, I have the hunter bump where you see boop, boop. As I said, on horses which are starved or ridden, what we call upside down, what I showed you before, when they go hollow like that, okay, they put a lot of stress on the spine, and then they get that deviation. Saddles, which are not wide enough in the panel, like you see here, put pressure on the spinal versus processes. Okay, so there is this perfect storm when you don't ride your horse round, hind leg underneath or front down. When the spine is under attack from saddles doesn't fit, okay, then the ligaments purely can't hold it anymore. Your ankle is very, very forgiving, your own foot ankle. But when you roll your ankle, next day, it's worse pain than breaking one, right? I know a broken ankle or bend it or rolled over an ankle, but tendon and ligament, take a long time to heal. One person told me once, how many letters does the word bone have? Okay. How many letters does the word ligament have? Okay. Which one has more? Well, obviously ligament. And he was a veterinarian, and he said to me, the thumb rule is for each letter is 1 week for healing. So if ligaments and tendon have more letters than bone, don't you think you really want to stay off the ligaments and tendons? So here is what creates this perfect storm, especially when you ride horses, dressage now, in the false frame, where you ride the horse more over the front flick versus the back movement, where the back is nice and round. Let me show you these pictures again so you really understand what I'm talking about. And the horse is using his ligaments to engage and not muscles. So that was the one what I showed you just previously, where the horse is nicely engaged and uses his hind leg to carry the rider and himself. So once all that works, it's great. If it doesn't work, it's very, very often that we see horses purposely ridden like that. So we see a lot of people call this a hyperextension in dressage or roll cure. So if you ride them in like this, in dressage or hunter jumper, bye-bye tendon, bye-bye front legs, and you see major stress, because this is where they start to little mini tears, like you overextend an elastic band. And sorry that the answer was so long, but I thought it was important that people really think about it. How does the horse carry me? How are they able to do all this with me without long-term damage? Well, so long you stay off the ligaments and tendons and let the horse really engage the way nature meant to engage them, the horse does not need to have a hunter bump. Of course, you have to feed him. and care for them, because they will always have the atrophy when you don't use it properly, right? Atrophy is by pressing too hard in or not to use it.